Prime Minister Hubert Ingram fires back at Dame Marguerite Pindling.
Lady Pindling and me ain't no friends, never have been no friends.
A progressive Liberal Party candidate challenges the Prime Minister. We'll tell you why. We take a look at IRCA's guidelines for the upcoming general election, and renovations at the House of Assembly expose over 200 years of history.
The floor is here now over 200, well over 200 years now.
I'm Nikia DeVoe, and this is NV12 Weekend. Joining us this Sunday evening, Prime Minister Hubert Ingram taking the stage in his constituency of North Abaco last night, making his final rounds on the campaign trail before the May 7th general election. It was on Ingram Park that he rededicated his campaign to his grandmother and laid out a vision for Abaco and a better Bahamas. Christina McNeil has more in this report.
Addressing the crowd on North Abaco for the final time before the general election, Prime Minister Hubert Ingram asked Bahamians to support a leader and a team that are about delivering results. This as the Prime Minister revealed that his party has delivered on 95% of the promises put forth in the party's 2007 manifesto. The Prime Minister says leadership requires teamwork, which is why he's been asking Bahamians to send the delivery team back to finish the work started over the past 5 years. Growing up in Cooperstown, North Abaco, Ingram says most homes did not even have an outside toilet. Most homes, he says, had a well rather than running water, and if there was no well, there was a water pump. Ingram last night invited Progressive Liberal Party leader Perry Christie to visit North Abaco as evidence of what good representation delivers.
I understand that the leader of the opposition was promising to come to North Abaco. We welcome him to come. There'll be no interference. There'll be no interference of people being bussed in or a rented crowd. We'd like him to come, see what we've done here in North Abaco and across Abaco these many years. We invite the media to come along with him and compare what has been done here in Abaco as compared to Centerville and Farm Road, much of which is represented for 35 years. I'd like him to come here, walk through Cooperstown, and find me an outside toilet in Cooperstown. I'd like him to walk and find a house that don't have running water in Cooperstown. Then I want him to go back to Farm Road that he represented and tell me what he finds over there.
Ingram says he believes the F&M has the better vision and record. However, he says the PLP seems to be running a campaign all about Ingram. Rather, he says it's all about the Bahamian people. Ingram also took the opportunity to send a message to Dame Marguerite Pindling and Christie.
You know and I know Lady Pindling and me ain't no friends, never have been no friends. Secondly, the man about whom she spoke last night, Perry Christie, he and I have talked about her many, many times. He can say whether she is now a friend of his, but the Perry Christie I know, she was never a friend of his.
Ingram added that as the F&M has gone about creating a new Providence, the party has also encouraged the sustainable development of all family islands.
My vision is to make the Bahamas a global model for small island state development. We propose to build a 21st century Bahamas, leaving none behind in this country. Our vision of holistic and sustainable development includes public investments in schools, hospitals, clinics, power generation, water, roads, docks and ports, public safety, airports, and other public goods.
During this term in office, Ingram says they have accelerated long-range programs of expanding government services on the Family Islands, including the Public Treasury, the Registrar General's Office, and the Passport Office. Last night, Ingram asked voters on Abaco to give him one final opportunity to represent them in the House of Assembly. Reporting for NB12, I'm Christina McNeil.
Well, the Prime Minister is once again accusing several members of the last Parliament of failing to use their constituency allowances.
It's telling, that the three members of the House of Assembly who didn't use substantial portions of their MP allowances to improve the lives of their constituents are all PLPs: Perry Christie, B.J. Nottage, and Alfred Gray. Whether in government or in opposition, the PLP leadership seems allergic to hard work and incapable of getting things done.
Michael MP V. Alfred Gray wasted no time responding to that claim. Today he told us he spent all of his $250,000 constituency allowance along with money out of his own pocket.
Those $200,000 were used to build the community center in Acklands. The $50,000 which we got in this year's budget was used $20,000 on that building to finish tile and all that, and it was completed to the extent that NEMA was able to use it for housing the hurricane relief supplies in Acklands. The other part of that money was used to distribute computers to every school in my constituency.
According to Gray, once an MP applies to use the funds, it has to be approved by the Ministry of Works and the Ministry of Finance. He told us that both ministries approved the construction of the community center in Acklands. He said his only regret with his allowance is that he was unable to spread it throughout the 5 islands in his constituency. He also made this challenge to the Prime Minister.
I challenge Mr. Ingram to prove and or refute the statement I made. That's a challenge to him, and if he's man enough, tell the public that I lied, or show them that I lied.
Well, you've seen and heard political advertisements on television and on radio, but during this election period, you may have noticed some changes to the way political broadcasts are being managed. The Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority, or IRCA, was founded in 2009 as the regulator for electronic communications in the Bahamas. However, it was only recently that the body finalized the guidelines for political broadcasts. IRCA's CEO Kathleen Smith explains that despite the recent finalization of the guidelines, interim regulatory codes were in place for the Elizabeth by-election of 2010. However, IRCA's senior case officer Vincent Wallace Whitfield says the framework for political broadcasts has completely changed since then.
The landscape has changed entirely, and it's gone from a situation of you having to keep detailed records of the number of broadcasts that you're political advertisements or broadcasts that you're doing in an hour, how many hours that you're devoting to these things during a particular election campaign, issues of that nature, to a situation where you can put on political broadcasts and advertisements as you so choose. The major limitation would be how much time in an hour do you want to devote to it.
It is important to have codes as a whole to provide guidance and boundaries. When you talk about broadcasting, most of the broadcasting, especially on the airwaves, is free to air. So you don't have to pay to receive it. So you want to ensure that it's done in some sort of taste and decency, and it's generally acceptable to society as a whole. So most countries have a code of practice for broadcasting, and they enforce it.
The new code sets out standards for political ads and election programs. The guidelines require broadcasters to provide balanced coverage of parties, candidates, and issues relevant to an election. Smith says if broadcasters don't abide by those guidelines, there is something members of the public can do about it.
The first thing they should do is really contact the broadcaster and make a complaint. Because the election period is such a short period, what they can also do is simultaneously complain to IRCA so that we can do an investigation if one is warranted to determine if the ad should be pulled, ceased and desist, or if we don't find that there's anything that's amiss, it can continue.
IRCA regulates all electronic communications in the country, from pay television to cellular and mobile services and the internet. To learn more about the rules governing these media, visit IRCA's website at ircabahamas.bs. Well, in other news, a 31-year-old man was shot and killed at his home on Eaton Street in Yellow Elder Gardens late last night. According to police, the victim was approached by a man wearing dark clothing who shot him several times. The 31-year-old died at the scene. The incident reportedly occurred around 11:55 p.m. Police are asking anyone with information on this latest homicide to contact them immediately.